The way we show up in our leadership in one place is the way that we show up in our leadership in all places. Okay. So I want to give you a corporate example and a parenting example because they're both obviously involve leadership. So I worked with a corporate client who was extremely successful by all objective measures. So it's quite likely that she will make it to the C-suite of one of the Fortune 500s. Okay, so obviously objectively very successful, but she has one central problem. She is, as she will say, extremely consensus building. She is very fond of saying that she leads by consensus. Okay. Consensus building and moderation is gorgeous. It's a wonderful leadership skill. It's an essential leadership skill. But at the extreme, what consensus building really is it's people pleasing. It is pathological people pleasing. In other words, before I can hold my power, I have to say, are you okay? Are you okay? Are you on board? Are you on board? Are you on board? Are you on board? And I can't move forward until I know that everyone's with me. Well, obviously, if I'm in charge at an enormous global company, you can see how that's going to hamstring not only my own power, but the efficiency of my department and my operations. Okay. And so other people are asking, so human beings are most fundamentally our native language. We're energy readers, right? So everyone in the room is, maybe they're not saying it out loud, but they're asking, like, who is the leader in this room? Okay. So there was a big organizational change happening. And in change, it's very natural that there's uncertainty and confusion. In other words, it's totally natural at the time there is a big organizational transition that there is no clear answer, which is exactly why leadership matters so much in times of uncertainty. In other words, if all the answers are very clear and everything's going smoothly, nobody needs your leadership. So because there's no clear answers, we have to at some point say, I'm going to seek consensus, and then based on the information I have and the time frame that I have, I'm prepared to make some difficult decisions. But what uncertainty can do to us is it can cause our fear, our stress, our anxiety, our pain to flare up. And then what do? We double down on the very thing that's kind of the weakest point of our leadership to begin with. So we start asking too much, checking too much, over accommodating, over pleasing, overthinking, over asking, over analyzing. Can you see how this creates an enormous energetic leak in your leadership? Okay. So I want to switch now to parenting, and I want you to see how these energies of passivity and these energies of uncertainty, and then what that uncertainty does to our ability to hold our power, how this works. Okay. So as parents, it's common that we don't like our children's distress. But it's one thing not to like something, and it is another to be entirely overwhelmed by it. When we are overwhelmed by it, some parents will get overly rigid and some will get overly accommodating. Okay, so anytime you get into the overs, it's a pain response. It's not a powerful response, it's a pain response. Today I'm going to talk about parents who over accommodate. Our work is to allow the child to provoke us, to refuse to eat the food, to refuse to get in the car, to refuse to do the thing in order to show them healthy boundaries, right? Children do not come into this world at any stage of their development understanding already what appropriate boundaries are. So their work is effectively to provoke us so we can show them how to hold healthy boundaries. So very, very early in my career, I'm going to tell you a little story. I was doing therapy, and a parent called, and the parent said, I don't know how to get my child to therapy. And the parent then said, so the child is very young. The child is like 3, 4, 5 years old. So the parent says, I don't know how to get the kid to therapy. The kid's refusing to go. Then the parent says, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to tell the kid that we're going to go to the toy store. Except instead of going to the toy store, we're just going to come to your office. Now, this is a dangerous idea for a lot of reasons, right? It's like you think that you're going to get ice cream. So you're the child, right? You're like, yes, I'm going to get this amazing magical toy. I'm going to get ice cream. No, I'm going to eat a Brussels sprout sandwich. So this obviously is not going to work for the therapeutic relationship because the child is understandably going to be enraged. And even more painfully, more destructively, what does this do to the bond between the parent and child, the essential trust, right? Now, you might think that this is extreme, this over accommodation. I'll tell you that I'm getting you a toy to get you to the doctors. But children, I just said everyone is an energy reader. Children are the most powerful energy readers on the planet, right? They don't, a lot of them, depending on where they are in their development, don't even have linear language yet. So they are absolutely reading facial expressions and changes of tones and size and body language. Our leadership then is, do we have the power to hold our sacred no peacefully in our nervous system? In other words, can I give my sacred no to my child calmly? Can I give my sacred no to my child peacefully? Can I give my sacred no to my child confidently? In other words, can I say it and just let it be? As if I said, it's 72 degrees outside today, just very matter-of-factly. Or does my nervous system enter a dysregulated state? In other words, if I'm too passive, do I feel really bad? Do I feel like I have to over-explain? Do I feel like I have to over-accommodate? Do I feel like I have to make it up to you? And then the converse of that, the inverse of that is I get overly rigid. I don't just say no. I'm overly stern. I'm angry that I have to say no, right? Either of those is a sign that there's energetic leakages in your leadership. So the work of leadership is a lot like Goldilocks. You don't want to be too passive. You don't want to be too rigid. You want to find the spot that is just right.